Okay, we are now live on Facebook for Spotlight Sunday, and I'm so freaking excited for this one because I got to meet Ashley in real life. It's always so much more fun when you like have that little personal connection there. So
oh my gosh,
got to meet in New York, and it was super, super fun. So I'm really, really excited. And of course, this stuff ties in perfectly with my whole branding thing.
Yeah, so. I know, which is so exciting.
Right. And it's perfect timing too, because I'm talking about all this stuff right now. So it's going to be good. I'm so excited. Yeah. So before we dig into all your juicy, amazing content, I would love it if you could just take a minute and introduce yourself. Tell us about you and your business and kind of how you got started, all the good stuff.
Yeah. So my name is Ashley Haas, and I do business coaching, and I also offer OBM services for higher-end clients. And I have really been in my own entrepreneur for about like 6.5, 7 years. But my first business I owned was a small franchise. And then I sold that and transferred over to being my own business coach. And I just love business. Like I geek out on all business stuff. So it's a perfect fit for me.
I love it. That's so fun. I totally do the same thing. I'm like, anyone I talk to that's like has a business, I'm like, oh, this is so fun. I love all the automation stuff too. So we're like so
awesome. Perfect.
I love it. Okay, well, let me get this pulled up real quick and make sure I can see comments and everything. I always forget that step. So as everyone gets here, always say hi. Even on the replay, let us know that you're here. Feel free to ask questions. It looks like I see Tabitha and Debbie and Karen here. So keep saying hi as you pop on, ask any questions. And before we dig in, I always have to ask my one question. Branding. So what does branding mean for you and your business, Ashley?
Yeah. So I really kind of feel like it's like the whole package. It's kind of like a pretty package that you wrap up for Christmas, right?
Okay.
Because it's not just the outside that you want to make beautiful, but it's also what's on the inside. Because if you open up that package and it's just like a big pile of poo, like it just doesn't matter what's on the outside, right? So I think it's like the whole thing all wrapped up. It's what you put out there in the world, and then it's also like who you are as an individual and how you kind of incorporate all that together.
Oh my gosh, that's like one of my favorite ones. It's a big pile of poo. We don't want it for Christmas. I freaking love it. Perfect. Okay, yeah. Cool. So yeah, let's get into it then. Like I'm super freaking excited. We're gonna be talking about client onboarding systems. So I feel like I did a pretty good job already of explaining like why they're important, but I would love to hear like your whole perspective on it and just like what makes you so excited to do it first and then dig into your stuff. I'm going to shut up.
Cool. Yeah. So the thing about like systems, I absolutely love systems and like automating your business, especially for those reoccurring things. Cause if you're doing it over and over again, it just makes sense, right? To have a system that helps you get it done quicker and faster and allows you to get back to the stuff that you really love to do in your business. And when it comes to client onboarding, I think it's one of the most important systems to have in place. But there's another factor in that system that sometimes doesn't really come into play. And it's really that you want to make sure that you're keeping that trust that you have already established in your client. Because we spend all this time getting those clients to buy right from you. And once they invest, you really want to keep that trust, and they can really start to reevaluate you if you were the right choice or not, right?
Absolutely.
And so putting in a system is really important, but you also want to make sure that you're incorporating your brand and your personality and your values and all of that into that system. And a lot of times we don't think about that, right? When we're thinking about a system, we don't really think about those aspects. But if you kind of like think about it this way, if you were to go to Disney, right? And you walked into the gates of Disney and it was like trashy and nobody said hi to you and like half of the rides weren't working, wouldn't you have like a totally bad experience?
Yeah.
Right?
I love that analogy.
But you like show up, like you spend all this money investing into going into Disney or going to Disney with like your family, and it's this big old hyped up thing, and you see all their commercials and it looks beautiful and wonderful and like this amazing experience, right? And if you showed up and the inside of that package was a big pile of poo, right? I mean, you'd be like, what the heck? And you tell all your friends It was totally a bad experience.
Mm-hmm.
You would never go back, right?
Exactly.
And so this can happen to your clients, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they come on board and then your onboarding process is really not a cohesive process that walks them through the steps of being your client, right?
Right.
And also incorporates this brand of yours that they've known or they've grown to know, like, and trust, right? And so when I have this course that I've created on how to create this automated system, and the first week of that is all about incorporating that brand, like thinking about that experience for your client, so that before you start to put the pieces together, you have this idea of really what you want that experience to be like for your client. Yeah.
Oh, I love that so much. I feel like there's like either or online. There's people like me who talk about branding a lot. And then there's like all the techie systems people who do that and totally leave out that middle step. So of course I do both too, just like you do, but I love incorporating that, because you're so right. People just totally skip over that step. It's like, oh, I have all this crap I need to get, and it's like overwhelming, and they just get it up and then don't really put any effort into that brand part.
Totally true.
That's honestly like one of the things I get the most compliments on, like from all of my stuff that's out there, my autoresponders that go out with my systems, and like people comment on that stuff the most. It's so important. I love it.
Sorry. I had a client who came on board and she was like, oh my gosh, I need your onboarding system. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, it's like not like awesome. She's like, no, I need that, you know? And so that's kind of what gave me the idea. I was like, oh, well, obviously everybody else isn't putting together a onboarding process, like, you know, easy and simple, but, you know, makes them feel like they are being taken care of. Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I like to keep things super simple. The system that I have is like really just like the easiest tools, you know, that almost anybody has and uses. But it's just putting in the time and the effort to say, okay, well, what will step 1 be? What will step 2 be? What will step 3 be? Because a lot of times you can just, you know, feed them with a fire hose and they get overwhelmed, and they're like, oh my gosh, I just said yes, but look at all this stuff, you know, and then they start to have buyer's remorse, you know, as well. And so it's just a nice process. It walks them through. It communicates really well to them, like, what's the next step? You know, what are we going to do? What do I need to do? You know, that kind of stuff. And then that keeps them from also having that buyer's remorse. You know, most of the time our clients are spending a lot of money with us.
That's the goal, right?
Right. And so you don't want them to be like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? You know?
Totally.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. And so there's just a couple of pitfalls in that first week when we talk about, you know, what's that experience that you want them to have. There's two things that I kind of like, two categories that we kind of go over. And so the first one would be, you know, really kind of diving into like, how do you want them to feel? And a great way to do this is really to think about an experience that you had, you know, like, when did you make a big purchase, and when was it a good experience for you? You know, even when you were like freaking out, you know, that you did this thing, maybe it was with a coach, or, you know, you bought a program, or it could even be like you bought a house. I mean, it could be any kind of big purchase, right? That kind of freaked you out, and you were like, oh my gosh, what am I doing?
My house buying process was a total freaking nightmare. So
was it?
I learned from that too, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's the other piece of it. It's like, well, when did you have a bad experience?
Yeah.
Right. And why was it a bad experience?
Yeah.
And like thinking about like what made it bad, or what made it good, and why, you know, digging into the why, because that'll tell you like, well, what was the good experience? Why did it make it good? And what parts of that do I want to incorporate into my own process for my client?
Yeah.
You know, how do I want them to really feel? And so we dive into that and how to add that to your process.
Okay.
So that's like the first thing. And then the second thing is really reflecting on your brand. So like your mission, your values, your personality. You have such a big personality that you show off. I mean, I know you talk about how you're an introvert, but you have such a big personality, and you show that so much. You're such a great example of of like how you can incorporate that
Yeah.
into like these back end systems, right? Of what you have going on in your business, because it's easier. I think it's easier to really show that off when you're on live video, right? So much easier. But when you're writing stuff out and you're sending emails, you know, it can be a little bit harder. And I tend to be like very systematic, like bullet point, like to the point, you know, because of my last career of being a project manager. That's what I did. But you really got to sit back and think, okay, well, who am I really? Who have they been seeing online? And how can I connect those two in this system that's automated so it feels like you know, so they don't feel disconnected? Because in an automated system, you can kind of start to feel disconnected, right? So it's keeping those things together and incorporating those things too. And a good example of this that maybe you may not think about is that I had a coach that loved to do meditations, and she was so good at it. This was like her zone of genius. And she didn't coach about like, it wasn't like mindset. It was more like it was like a money mindset, I guess. So she did kind of do mindset stuff, but she would do a meditation at the beginning of every coaching call.
Okay.
Right. And so that would be, and I loved it. And but it was, at first it was a little like kind of awkward, right? But you know, like you're getting on a first call and she's like, okay, let's do this meditation. You're closing your eyes and you're on video, and but this was like her thing, and it was so amazing to like ground yourself before the call, and it was really awesome. And that was her thing, right? That was what she, like her personality and her values and things that was important to her that she brought to her coaching practice. And I think, you know, thinking about those things too, you know, like how do you incorporate those things that you really love to do? Because your clients are purchasing from you and following you because they also have the same values, right?
Exactly.
They really love you.
I love how you worded that too, because that's like, we did this whole challenge last week, and that's the whole point of it.
Yes,
you
exactly.
Can learn things, you can buy the things from anywhere. They buy it from you because of you. They connect with you. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so not to forget, you know, those things. And even if it feels, you know, like if you worry, like your, you know, clients are going to think that it's kind of woo woo or kind of weird, I think you just do it anyways, and then ask for feedback, you know, get their feedback continuously throughout the process.
And if you're attracting those real ideal clients, they're probably going to love it anyway.
Absolutely. Your ideal clients will always love it. If you love it, they will. Yeah. Yeah. So I think, you know, just doing what you love, right? Being you 100% of the time throughout the whole client onboarding process, and really like throughout your whole client experience, right? But just like that system that you're creating. And, you know, making sure to incorporate that personality of yours. Are you more serious and like down to earth, or are you fun and sassy? And, you know, like just making sure to incorporate those pieces, and doing that before you create the system is really important, so that, you know, that stuff doesn't get lost, right, in the system process. Yeah,
exactly. Because I think that's a huge thing for people too, is like you try to, you know, you want to set up all these things, and then it gets like super overwhelming in there, and it's just like, okay, I just need to get in there and get it done. So I love that. That's the same like process I take with all my stuff too. Plan it out first, figure out what you want, get that done, and then plug it in.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And with the course that I have, it's like so easy, because it's like, first we just say, well, this first week is like this brand personality, like how do you want them to feel? And then it's like, okay, what do you have already? And let's create this back end piece. Like, let's create the templates, let's create, you know, the emails, and like write all of it out. And then we start to connect the dots. So we don't connect the dots until a little bit later. And I think that that's really helpful too, because you really kind of see like the flow of it before you actually start to put it together.
I love it.
And then it's all, we test it and we make sure it's all working. And then, you know, by the time you're done, it's like, it's all working and it's good. So good to go. So yeah. Yeah. So, and I thought it really tied in well with your challenge, because I thought, well, shoot, if they, you know, if they're like getting more people to come to them, I mean, once they have that lead magnet running and their email sequence and they're following Brooke's steps anyways, they're going to be just rocking it with new clients. So this is a perfect segue. It's like, you need that client onboarding system.
And it's so huge. It's such a huge part of it for sure.
Yeah.
And I feel like I talk about the systems and automation stuff a lot because I do because that branding piece is missing from it, but I haven't really talked about it in terms of onboarding. And so I love, this is like perfect timing because it is huge. It's like, oh shit, I just dropped a whole bunch of money. Like,
yeah,
if you're not delivering, that's like their very first impression, right? It's huge. It's so important. So
yeah. And they really are, always reevaluating, they're like, ooh, I thought it was going to be this. They have these expectations. And so you just, it's just so important to keep them too as a long-term client, because at first,
and
I mean, it really does. Yeah, it does. It's like a ripple effect for sure. It does make a difference. So yeah.
Cool. Well, I know I put the link to your course that you've been talking about in the description of this video. It's also in the events tab. So everybody should be able to find it super easy.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, we're running it. I'm running it right now.
Cool.
Yep. And so I will be finishing that run like sometime in May, like middle of May. So I'll be running it again in June. Yeah.
Perfect timing.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to jump in or if they have any questions, they can reach out to me. So perfect.
Let me scroll through here and see if we've had any questions so far. Victoria says hi, and Natalie. Debbie said, I thought of, as soon as you said Disney, Debbie's on here, and that's her business is Disney stuff. So nice. I'm so glad Debbie's here.
Awesome.
Dana, this is a perfect analogy for Debbie. She says, Chris and Stephanie and Shalista. That's such a pretty name. And Heather are all here. Okay, so before we hop off, then we do have quite a few people watching on live. So if you have any questions, now is the time. But
yes,
in the meantime, I'm so freaking excited that you came on. I'm so happy to have you. Like I said, this is absolutely perfect, fit and perfect timing with all the stuff that's been going on in this group. So I love it.
Good. Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's so much fun to come in here. I've been watching your Spotlight Sundays forever. So it's awesome. Yeah.
They are. They're so fun. I love having everybody. I love getting to know all the people in the group, first of all, but just this was one of the things when I first started my business that I was struggled with. I was so scared to do live video, first of all, but then once I kind of felt more comfortable, I was like, okay, I don't have anywhere to go live. I don't have any people in my audience yet. So that's what it was created for. And then even if you do already have people in your audience, it's still just so cool to just come on live and talk to people and share your message. And I love this whole Spotlight Sunday thing. It's my favorite.
It's so much fun. It's so fun to get to know everyone for sure. I love that part. It really builds your community. Yeah.
Great. Britt says, I missed the first part. Were there tech tools recommended? So do you have any we didn't cover that, Britt, but do you have any that you that you love?
So one of the things that I get asked a lot is how do you organize all your files? I never know where to find the stuff I was working on. And I do like to keep it simple. I use Google Drive. For all my stuff. And because you can access it from anywhere, you can export it when you want to. So I usually just keep all my stuff there. And part in the course, I just have a template folder for a new client. And then it has all your templates in there. And then you just copy and paste it or duplicate it. It's not the easiest thing in Google Drive, but there is a way to make it work. And then just make that your new client folder. And then all your
That's exactly what I do too.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And it's easier to copy it if you have it synced to your hard drive, and then you can just copy it in your regular folder instead of going on the website, because everything's a little goofy in there, but
it is
synced.
Very good point. Yes, that's true. And I do have it synced. That's always nice too. Yeah. But I just use ConvertKit, for your sending out emails. So I actually set it up as just as broadcasts, the emails that I send out to my clients, because then you can just make them as drafts in ConvertKit, right? And schedule them as well. So that makes it really simple and really easy. And Acuity is awesome because for your scheduling,
I love Acuity.
Because in the reminders for Acuity, you can put your feedback forms and the links to those.
Yep.
So you don't have to think about sending them feedback forms all the time.
I do that.
Your post session, like before session and after session feedback forms, I put those in my reminders through Acuity.
I love that. Okay, so I've been doing like double the work then. So I do it, they get Acuity reminders, but I have Dubsado. So I just like go in and also schedule it in Dubsado to send before and after. But why do that when I can do it in Acuity?
You can just do it in Acuity.
Just blew my mind.
Oh, good. Yay. Yeah. And then it's based on their schedule, right? So, or what they have scheduled. And so it makes it just automated that way. So it makes it nice.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just the simple stuff, you know? Yeah.
Cool. Debbie says, thank you. Brett says, I have my contracts coming from Hello Sign and the bill comes from Square. Would like to streamline it. Okay. Do you have any recommendations there? Dubsado does both of those pieces for me. So I don't know like how you take payments or what you would recommend for that stuff.
Yeah. So I do Squarespace. And so I think it just depends on what you want and what kind of packages you have.
Yeah.
Because like PayPal, for example, doesn't have reoccurring billing, right? So like you can't get their credit card once and PayPal will just charge them monthly if you have a payment plan. You have to send an invoice. So I would suggest like using Stripe, or I don't know Square as much. I'm assuming Square does the same thing.
I think they're pretty similar. I use Stripe too. Stripe. So but I think they're similar.
Yeah, I know Stripe will do the recurring invoice. And I do the same thing. Hello Sign. And then I just have like a package on my Squarespace site with the billing options. And then I just link that to Stripe, right? So they just have to click on that and then they go to the payment. And then if we have monthly recurring billing, it'll just automatically bill them versus sending an invoice. Yeah.
Love it.
And you can use Zapier, right? To connect things.
Oh my gosh. That's like my favorite thing ever.
It's my favorite thing too.
Connects all the things.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. And so if like you're using two different things, right, and you want them to be connected, you could do that too.
Yeah.
And that usually works pretty well.
I have like a ton of those little guys set up. Just
oh my gosh.
What do they call them? Just zaps, I think is what they call them. But
yes, they're the best. I know. Cool. You can get lost in there, but
you can try. Like for a while when I very first started my email list, I was like super pumped up every single time somebody took my quiz and signed up. I had it text me.
Oh yeah.
It text me every time somebody signed up for my email list.
Totally.
100 per month for free, and eventually I was getting more than 100 people signing up per month, and I was going to charge. I was like, okay, I don't need to know every single time someone signs up. That's exciting. But yeah, you can do like so much stuff in there. It's so cool.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's a great place to look to see if something can be automated for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
And is that something that you go into deeper in your course too, like different tools and how they work together? Or is that?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Perfect.
And I base it on my tools, but I say I have a Facebook group for the people who are in the course.
Ooh,
so they can go in there and they can ask questions specific to their tool. And then we have some Q&A calls too. So usually if you're using something different or have a question specifically, then we can figure it out.
Yeah.
I
love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Shalista says Square does do recurring billing, but not subscriptions. Okay. Good to know. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you. Yeah. That's awesome.
Cool. Okay. Well, if no one has any questions, then I think unless Ashley has any other amazingness you want to add, I think there's pretty much all the amazingness already. So if anyone has any follow-up questions, you always have the comment section. And thank you to everyone that showed up live. And thank you so much, Ashley, for coming in. This was so good. I just dork out about this stuff all night.
I know.
It's so fun.
So much fun. I know. I'm such a geek.
Me too. It's so fun. So cool. Well, thank you to everyone who came live, and I will talk to you all soon. Hopefully I'll see you again in New York in September.
I would love that.
And everyone have a great weekend. Cool. Bye.
Bye, guys.